You're watching SBA Today. With all the latest news, stories, and advice, here are your hosts, Paul Long and Tanya Mazurek.
And welcome to SBA Today, presented by Res Title, your SBA title experts, for the week of June 24th. First of all, can you believe it's June 24th? Sorry, I'm just baffled by that, Tanya. Who are you?
Well, I think you just introduced me. So
Anyway,
yes, I am Tanya. And the fun thing with this is I want to read it exactly like we wrote it because it's really kind of funny. Before we get into our special guest, we have some quick news. Okay, so before we get into our special guest, which is going to be Res Title, we do have some news. Paul, you want to go ahead and start with that?
Yeah, so what was interesting is SBA out with their 2026 annual evaluation plan, and it pretty much says what is going to be what they're going to be focusing on for the next year. And there's not going to be a whole lot of surprises here if you've been in the SBA world in the last 6 months, but of course supporting small business manufacturing. They are planning on doing that, where encouraging more businesses to sign up through sam.gov and increase lending for those certain NACIS codes. So again, is that a surprise? No, but that's obviously a focus. Next is cutting red tape, removing inefficiencies. We've heard that just a few times, but will identify costs that are highest in design and intervention to improve small business awareness and access to free resources.
Now, Paul, with that, are you hearing a little bit of staff cuts more potentially coming in, or kind of, I guess for me, with automation comes the pros and cons, right? So what are you thinking with that? I'm just going to ask you.
Well, I think they're still recovering from the amount that they did have to let go, that they're do more automation. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. What's interesting is they're going to be focusing more of it toward, SCORE, SBDC. I think you're going to see more of that push. That's my course. Of course, more pushing, hey, SAM registration, and then hopefully increasing. So,
right. Well, also with it comes the consultancies. Some consultancies charge firms hundreds of dollars for the SAM registration, right? And a free process, and it's a free process that takes less than 2 hours, right? Yet people are charging for it. They shouldn't charge for it. Anyway, making the process smoother fuels economic growth by broadening small business participation. Now, with that, I wanted to kind of bring up something that others might know about that kind of shows I guess free services. I mean, if it's a free service, it needs to be a free service. So don't go to any other locations that it isn't a free service. Kind of like irs.gov when you're signing up your EIN number, right?
Right.
Do you know how that happens? Like people go on there, they think they're going to the right place, and it goes to some, other area. And then all of a sudden it's $25, it's $50 or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's a free service. Anyway.
No, I guess my question is, now keep in mind, I registered my organization through SAM years ago. 2 hours? It's a form. What information do you possibly need that's going to take 2 hours? Like, I genuinely have no idea. That's 2 hours, but whatever. If that takes 2 hours,
right.
Doing that.
Right. And Paul, you're cutting out just a tad there, but basically, yes. So what he's saying, yes, is it shouldn't take 2 hours. What could possibly take 2 hours, right? But yeah, anyway.
No, I'm just trying to, I'm having all morning. Is my audio okay?
This is live, right? So guys, we are live. And when it's live, as we all know, there's technological issues. Yeah.
100%
human error, technological issue. It's usually my human error. It's his technological issues. So, okay. Anyway.
Last but not least, this I think is, at least I felt like, was kind of newer, and that was empowering rural businesses.
Yeah.
Our offices and services more accessible to rural communities by leveraging interagency, state, and local partnerships for economic and work development. So we're going to see, more of that. And again, I had just noticed that usually in a Republican politics world, uh,
Mhm.
uh, a little bit,
Right.
which they absolutely need help.
Well, and what I gathered is they're going to collect all this data. They're going to collect all this data, and what they're going to use it for is to inform future outreach efforts. Oh, don't you just be data? It's like it's a potato, not a potato. It's a potato. Anyway, all right, it's all right. Okay, so they're going to use it for future outreach efforts, and if appropriate, the intervention could be scaled. Findings will be published online and shared with the SBA, OMB leadership, other federal agencies, and the SBA's evidence and evaluation community of practice. So, anyway, we did get past the tater.
The tater. And are we gonna talk about res title tater?
We were talking about the South, right? And how I'm from the South. So maybe that got stuck in me and came out a little bit. Anyway.
God,
all right,
so
guys,
fun.
we're going to move on because here is an important part, right? I want to introduce our sponsors, right? Res Title, Rich Sabrowske and Regina Braga. Anyway, we just went through it, and it's Braga. But anyway, or Braga, sorry. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. Braga is close enough. It's a married name.
Braga. Yeah. We want to brag about our title company sponsors, so it's Braga.
It works well that way. It works well. Thanks for having us on.
Yes.
So, I think, we kind of shared a few things I think our audience wants to hear about this. But, first and foremost, tell us about Res Title. And most importantly, what makes you different than any other title company out there? Because there's others, right? But what makes you the best?
There's 2 others. I may have heard of them before, but yeah. So, we've been around since 1994, 31 years in this business. And this is what we specialize in do here at Res Title. We handle title and settlement. That is all we do. We handle it nationwide. And one of the things that really does make us unique in doing that is you'll have a lot of title and settlement companies. They'll say that they handle nationwide, and then they say like 85% of their business is in their home state. Here at Res Title, we never have a single state that's more than 6 to 7% of our business, which means every day we are handling a lot of states coming through here, and it's that expertise that's really our niche in the industry, and what we work most closely with our clients is trying to help all those nuances. So little weird things that happen in Iowa or Oklahoma, it's not for you guys to know. That's our job, and that's what we're supposed to be staying on top of for you. So
thank God.
Yeah.
Trying to make it easier for you.
Now, don't you guys also do a lot of education? You guys, I think, have like a university. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do. We love to educate and talk about title. Now, we know title's not really exciting and fun. We could share some fun stories, but most people, it's an afterthought that they think of. They're like, oh yeah, I need to order title. But what we try and do with all of our clients, and really just for the industry as a whole, is to make sure that we have lots of sharing of knowledge out there. So a lot of our Res resources, we love using Res in the name of everything. So we have Res University. And Res University are classes that we offer. They're completely customizable on everything from different state nuances to Title 101. If you really get an inclination, like today, I'm going to learn how to read a title commitment. We can teach you that if you'd like.
That's important, though.
That's your new goal. It is. It is understanding it, right? We want, at the end of the day, we're going to provide you the expertise, but we want you to have an understanding. So when you're going out there talking to your clients, it helps with your value add a little bit too. So,
something I wanted to ask about, because you just mentioned it, is title often is an afterthought. Now, title is very important. Why is it an afterthought? When would either of you, I mean, either of you can tell us here, but when would you guys say title should be getting involved? When should we get title involved, and how should that look?
Yeah, I'll have Rich jump in on here. I'm always going to say earlier the possible, all the information that we can get is always better. You know, because if we run into a title issue, then I want to make sure that we're dealing with that earlier. Rich actually has come to Res Title from the broker side. Rich, why don't you share a little bit about, you know, when you used to order title with Res Title when you were working with us?
Yeah, well, the thing is, on title, you have a lot of things on the front end that you can find out, like mortgage taxes. I had a deal, you know, it died one time. The guy had like 21 grand in the bank, closing clean. She said, no problem. And then when we got the HUD, the settlement statement, there was $17,000 on there for mortgage tax. It blew the deal up. We have actual calculator. You can go in and plug in the property address, and it'll give you the title closing costs right down to the penny. So if you're putting an LOI out there, and borrowers, they want to know what the closing costs are, right? That's fair. So I always used to know what I was charging, what the bank was charging, you know, application fee, credit report fee, and everything. But title, I just used to guess. I would say, I don't know, $1,000. If it's a big deal, maybe 10 grand. But right now, we have free tools for you. You can go in there and find out right to the penny what those closing costs are. And we have a lot of lenders that actually use our calculator when they produce their LOIs. But the real reason I came to Res Title was because, what's that?
I said, don't guess. Guessing gives me
I came to Res Title because, so you got one point of contact for the whole nation, you know? Like, I would go out there, I'd get a deal, whatever state it's in, I'd have to find a title company, and then the title company, you know, they only handle certain counties in that state or whatever. And when I came to Res, I dealt with one person who handled everything, you know, and it's so fast. They're just, I never waited minutes for a return phone call or email. I'd never use another title company ever. And I use them for how I work here, but for brokers we have, or lenders we have property reports and calculators, Resiversity, and we have a true commercial division. A lot of title companies, you know, they have a commercial division, but they really don't. And actually, we have our own SBA commercial division. Do a lot of SBA. I did SBA loans for about 25 years. So we're very perfect with SBA, and we'll actually even do, you know, only if there's no real estate.
Now, I want to pause on that one because that's a big deal. Is there's not a lot of title and escrow companies that well, frankly, are good at doing business only transactions. So that's a huge one. I'm very impressed with that, and I'm taking you up on that offer because I have one going through now. So
well, you know what's crazy?
Test it out.
The other thing you said, Paul, is when somebody works with a company for that long in advance, using them as a service, and then decides to go work for them, that also states a heck of a lot, because 100%. We all know that things can go sideways with, you know, outside resources, third parties, that type thing.
Yep.
That don't always help or that type thing, right? So so to have a service that you use for that length of time and then go work for them, that's huge. Says something.
That's huge. So, well, I mean, obviously you guys know what you're doing, and that's awesome. And I definitely encourage all of our listeners to, you know, give you a shot, right? And see how that experience is. I'm excited and thankful to have you guys on here. Now, one thing I think would be very interesting is I know our listeners, they kind of want to hear, okay, fine, title insurance, we get it. It's a report. We look at it. We move on. There's nothing really that sexy about title insurance. I'm really sorry to offend you if I did, but it's just not, right? However,
there's nothing sexy about lending in.
well, that's
general.
also true.
I mean,
That's very
come on,
true.
throw us in that mix.
But give us an example of. We want to hear a horror story. Like I want to understand why is it we should give us a real life example of why we should get title insurance and give us that reminder on why it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny, when I was prepping for this, I reached out to some of our employees who have been on here for years, and I used the word horror stories, and they start giving me all these examples of title with like dead people in it. I said, well, I mean, I'm thinking like actual horror stories.
Well, I mean,
like, really
that's a start.
Oh, God.
So, you know, I was like, I'm in just like some tough title situations, but, you know, like I said before, like, you know, we said title isn't sexy, title isn't really intriguing. People think about title as an afterthought, but title insurance does matter. And especially now, I mean, you know, fraud is kind of this hot topic word that's thrown around almost a little bit too quickly sometimes, I think, but it is out there. And that's really what title insurance is trying to prevent and protect against. You know, we had a transaction a couple years back, an investment property that was going to be sold, and the seller was an LLC. Seller had already sold other properties with different title companies through the same lender. The lender says, yep, we have the LLC docs, we're all set. We know that this person has sole member and ability to transfer the property. So when we get an investment property in, or anything that has an LLC as a seller or a buyer, we have a little due diligence that we do. So we start doing the due diligence. Well, it turns out that he was not the sole managing member, did not have the rights to be transferring the property. So we stopped our transaction, but he had already transferred multiple properties under the LLC, under these fake LLC operating docs that had been given to the lender. And so there was a whole host of issues on that end with those other transactions. Luckily, like I said, our due diligence caught it, but that's just something that's so simple. I mean, you know, somebody sends you LLC docs, you're like, oh, great, LLC docs, you can sign off, here I go. And is actually, you know, a complete headache. So those are the types of things where title matters. You know, we had another situation that was brought to us from a different title company, property that had been transferred a couple times. The property was in 2 separate states. The previous title company did not catch that it was in 2 separate states. It was on the Massachusetts-Connecticut line. Fun fact, the owner was a puppeteer for Sesame Street. We get some random ones sometimes. Anyways, so like that, it was right on the line, and it needed to be recorded and everything processed in both of the states. And yeah, they were, you know, doing their thing, and it only got processed the previous transactions in one of the states. And our title search caught it. So like these are headaches nobody wants after the fact, right? Nobody wants that phone call of like, hey, you messed up, and now you transferred my property that you weren't supposed to, or, you know, your lien is no longer viable. So that's why title matters. Is it fun? I mean, obviously we think it can be. I've been doing this for 21 years. I must find some enjoyment in it.
Well,
but,
and it's important. So fun, but it's important. It's very important.
It's all about protection, right? It's not new. It's not fancy. It's been the same for years, hundreds of years since the inception of title insurance. But what we try and do is make it easy. And Rich mentioned some of those other tools. So any title partner you're working with should be giving you something more than just title. Yeah, you need the title search, you need the commitment, you need and policy, but they should be giving you something more. Give me education, give me property reports where you can run a property report that's basically just short of an appraisal nationwide. Give me a calculator where I can run my quotes up ahead. So whether it's us or any title agent, it should be a partnership of tools, because, you know, title insurance is what it is. It's not a unique product. So,
True.
So it's just about that protection in the best way possible.
So really quick before we move on, I wanted to just give a shout out to those that are watching that are making some comments here. Jean-Pierre, hello. Nice to see you here, as well as Jessica Poirier. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And obviously Ray Giroux, who is, you know, always active with his little comments. Imagine that. So No, you do not get an honorary degree from Res University, Mr. Ray.
You have to work on it. You got to
actually
take some
take it.
classes.
Good try. Good try.
Well, and you know, Ray brings up a good point on this, like that investment property that you're talking about. You know, was that a situation where a claim was paid?
It was, yeah. A claim was filed on those others that had to be done. Another one we've seen a lot of recently is judgment searches. A lot of the state laws are changing. Again, I know this is super exciting topics, people, but you know, judgment searches being done. And on a statewide level, we've seen a couple a rise in claims where judgment searches weren't pulled from other title companies. And it actually presented itself as a lien on the property and jumped the lien of the lender because the title company didn't do a full enough judgment search. You know, beyond either just the name. Oops. So, you know, sometimes, listen, we'll run a full judgment search and they'll be like, how did you find all this stuff? We're like, well, we did a lot of work to find it, but, you know, stuff like that, that's definitely things that, you know, again, not super intriguing, but it's important. And it's all about the protection for the lender and for the client too. So
I would assume it's one of those things where people are like, oh, title insurance, I don't want to pay this, or how much is that, or anything like that. And then until you need it, until you have a reason to have that claim, then it's like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. I mean, you know,
well, think about it. I mean, it's no different, and people can understand it from a different perspective, maybe that haven't done the business side of title yet. I mean, same thing for your house on your home mortgage. It would be the same daggone thing. Or let's talk about health insurance. Same thing. Until you need it, it just feels like this extra expense that's unnecessary. But dadgummit, if you need it, you're going to hope it's flipping there, and you're going to hope you've got the right people helping you out with it. So I want to move on to the strangest place you've ever closed alone.
Ooh.
So we've got some good ones. We got a lot of fun ones. You know, we will do remote closings when we can, obviously, but sometimes you need things wet signed, and sometimes people are at work or they're on vacation, or, you know, the case may be. So we've gone to jails. We've gone to carnivals for carnival workers. We've signed at mechanics because that's the case. You know, somebody's getting oil changes. That's the only time we have. One of my all-time favorite stories was a residential property for a borrower. It was the last refi day of the month, and this borrower was a bus driver, and she was getting very stressed because she was on back-to-back shifts. She had a 30-minute break, and our closer met her at the end of her first route, jumped on the bus, signed the documents for her, got off the bus, and she went back on her way to the rest of her next route, and she was able to sign in time. So, you know, we tell everybody, yeah, we'll close wherever is convenient, and we do. And when it really works out and takes the pressure off of them, you know, that's the stuff that we love to be able to do. So
well, and the closing process is so darn stressful anyway. I mean, oftentimes you get to closing and little things have come out of the woodworks, you know, leading up to that last little bit that's stressful, and they've got to get more documents. They've got to get this, maybe more money's coming out than they expected to be. So it's already stressful. So anybody that can take the stress off of that situation is amazing.
That's the goal.
Can I just say that if you had to go to a jail for a signing, please say it was the seller. Please.
It was a deed because the ex-husband was coming off the property, and we
rightfully so. It sounds like
it was not a buyer.
I'm making sure which side it's on. I mean, okay, lender. Whose bright idea was that?
So we were trying to remove him. So
okay, thank you. That makes sense. It's hard to manage a property when you have 25 to life, right?
You know, it was tough. At least, you know, it's not like I had to do that one personally. I always throw out there, I'm like, guys, you know, if we have somebody stuck in Hawaii and you need me to go out there and sign, you know, whatever's convenient for the borrower, really.
Right.
I'm surprised I'm surprised at the jail that they let you take the pen in, because that's a weapon.
Ooh,
yeah, you know, now that you mention it, I forget exactly how I remember it was a process. It was about a year and a half ago. I remember it was a process and a half. I don't know how they got the pen in, but that's a good question. I'll have to find out and follow up with you on that.
Had to write in blood.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, I was
No,
thinking the
we'll
same.
take
I'm
what we
like,
can get.
well, we are talking horror stories on this, so
Yes,
That's
kind of
right,
go along with
exactly.
it, too. Oh, goodness.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being on. Thank you for sponsoring. Thank you for sharing with us the title insurance. Again, it's definitely one of those things where I think I don't think, I know you should go to the website. I use some of those tools within my day-to-day business here. And they are extremely helpful. So definitely go out there and do that. And most importantly, on your next deal, and you can pick your title and escrow, make sure it's res.
Well, and you
Appreciate
guys
that.
go ahead and tell them where they can reach out to you.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. So best way to get all the tools is right on our website, res-title.com. All the tools are located right there. And then you'll have all the contact information for our whole team as well. But we invite you to go on there. The tools are complimentary. You could go on there and just start using them today. And we really appreciate it. And Paul and Tanya, you guys are so much fun. Thanks for having us on.
You are so welcome. We've so enjoyed you. All right, guys. So that's the end of the show today. If you've enjoyed it, obviously come back and follow us. We're here on Tuesday mornings, live on LinkedIn and YouTube, or any of the streaming platforms where you get your podcast. Go back and check out any of our previous episodes. Check out our family podcast as well, The Art of SBA Lending, as well as the BDO show. And other than that, I don't know. If you've got any questions for Paul and I, reach out to us on our LinkedIn post, follow us, connect with us. Otherwise, rise up with your big bad selves. If nobody's told you, we think you're awesome, and we'll see you next week. See ya.
See you guys later.